Hi, friends! A quick note before we get into today's episode. This episode of Lime Listen and Learn, the People Leadership Lounge, was originally recorded live on LinkedIn in 2025. You would definitely hear moments where my guest and I are responding to a live audience during this episode. So let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Lime, Listen, and Learn, the People Leadership Lounge. I am Abbiola Ballah, the founder of Fern Education Studios, where we train managers to lead with ease. And I am so happy to have you all here with me today for another episode. The first one was fire, and this one is going to be fire also because I also have another amazing guest here with me today. So if you are here in the audience, I would love for you to drop a hello in the chat. Please say hi so that I know that you are here as we dive in today. So as you know, I mentioned the name of this. It's a lime. This is a lime. So it's not a panel, it's not a webinar, it's not a masterclass, and it's definitely not one of those, leadership like talks where we'll give you like these like tiny little takeaways or like slide decks or anything like that. No, this is not like that. This is a lime, and a lime in Trinidadian culture, where I'm originally from, a lime is where people come together. They just, chill, vibe, talk, just talk about all the things. So it's going to be unfiltered, honest, bold, and just full of vibes. And that's what I want us to do here today. So we're talking about leadership, and we're not talking about the like performative, like polished kind of leadership. We're talking about the people side, which can get messy, right? The tension, the truth of it, the parts that don't always make it onto the meeting notes. And that's what we're going to be digging into today. So yeah, we've also got a few community agreements. So all of my guests, before they come on, they do agree to these as well. And they basically guide how we show up together in this space. And I would like to share them with you, and I would love for you to agree to them also. So here they are. So the first one is listen to learn, not just to respond. We're going to bring curiosity and care into our conversation. We're going to speak from our truth, so your own truth, and stay open to feedback. We're going to acknowledge when we need to take a pause. We're going to assume a positive intent, but stay accountable, right? Because positive intent doesn't always mean a positive impact. And we're going to share the space, not the stories. Okay, so you can share the space, you can share this live to far and wide, but please do not take the stories that are being told and share them as your own or without anyone's permission. But the live itself, share it to everyone if you can. All right, so let's talk about today's convo. And as I say, I want to invite, if you are here watching live, please drop a comment in the chat to say hello. Today, we are digging into urgency culture. So, how it shows up in the way we lead, the pressure that comes from it, and what happens when it kind of becomes the default. So, I am so excited to have Rebecca Thomas joining me for this lime. And my goodness, I'm really glad to have her here. And I'm going to bring her up because here we go. Yes, I did it.
You did
Welcome,
it. Hello.
Rebecca. Hello. So happy to have you here. I mean, listen, we've had some honest conversations already about urgency and how it can quietly just take over so
Yes.
many things. And, also like what it looks like to slow down, to tap into discernment, to lead different, like what that looks like, right? And I
Yep.
really want to be, I'm excited to jump into this with you, like for the masses, for the public to kind of hear. Because lately, I was gonna share with you, I've been feeling like this sense of urgency kind of everywhere. I know, like we're mainly talking about this in like the workplace setting, but yes, I've been feeling it with clients, but I've also been feeling it in conversations I've been having with just friends, right? Family members, just like, and honestly, in myself too, as a business owner, right? I've been feeling that urgency, like, as well in there too. And I think, because of that, it's become not just like a workplace only issue. It's just something that's now just a part of our lives right
Yeah.
now, And it's like, how do we, I don't know. It's like, it's tricky because it's like that urgency doesn't always feel like it's pressure. Sometimes
Right.
it just feels normal. Like we're
Right.
supposed to be
Exactly.
in this state all the time. And I mean, that's a little bit scary because when it becomes the default, like, how are we, going back to like in the workplace, how are we supposed to lead? How are we supposed to make decisions? How are we supposed to like interact with other people? You know? So, are you noticing this?
Oh
What
my
I'm
gosh.
trying
So much. And actually, when you were talking, it made me think of, when I don't know if you ever see these. I scroll sometimes on
to.
Instagram or something, and it's like there'll just be a post and says, lower your shoulders. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my shoulders were like way up in my ears. Whoa, that's a very different feeling. But when we are, like you
Yeah.
said, just like everything is like that all the time, maybe we don't notice that we're actually just living
Mhm.
in this what is a really activated state. Like our nervous
Yeah.
system is just like trying to survive and get through the next thing. Like even before we
Mhm.
got on here, we were talking about like it's just another one of those days. Like there's just a lot. Every day's a lot. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's a very normal state for people right now. Every day feels like a lot.
It does. It does. And what do we do? Like, what do we do with this feeling? Like, I don't want this to become the norm. This type of urgent, because it leads, in my case, it leads into anxiety,
Yeah.
right? I'll speak for
Yes.
myself. I'll use I comments for that one.
Totally.
It leads into an anxiety. So I'm just like, well, if this is leading into anxiety, like what do we do? Like how do we even begin? It's kind of like this. Like how do we even begin to talk about something like this when it's becoming so normal? Like what do we
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's such a good question. How do we even begin to talk about it? Because I think there are times like I have had my oldest son, he's 22, and he tells me, "You're too
Mhm,
busy." And I say, "I'm not too busy. I can
mhm,
handle everything I have going on." But in
mhm,
reality, I do take a second and think, "Am I? Am I too
mm,
busy? Is there too much going on?" And
yeah.
with my team, I often tell them, when everybody is saying like this is really important and this has to happen and then this deadline's happening and this person needs this, it's all these things are happening. But if everything is urgent, then nothing truly is urgent. And so, how do we
Absolutely.
look at all that there is to do because everything feels very urgent and say, what is actually the urgent next
Mhm,
thing? Because sometimes it
mhm.
doesn't have to be today, and
Yeah.
like even Microsoft, I've noticed in Outlook right now, they have a new feature, and maybe it's not new, maybe I just found it, but I can snooze an email for like a week
Right.
and ask
Oh,
myself,
nice.
is this actually something I need to do something with right now? Or can I actually
Mhm.
put this off? And using some of those tools also to like
Yeah.
take a second and really ask myself that question. Is this really
Yeah.
urgent? Because yeah, the external input is that everything matters right now. And that's overwhelming.
Yeah, it's exhausting, right? So when we think about it, and I love when you said like, finding those, my brain is going into 6 million different directions, but we'll pull one at a time. So, like you said, so many gems I want to pull from. So first of all, finding those tools that help you to like
Mhm.
slow it down a little bit. But even having the like awareness to even look for something like that in the first place, I think
Yes.
that's also a big part of it, right? Because a lot of the times, do we even have the awareness that we're, digging in, like, or not digging in, that's not the word I wanted, or we're just becoming part of, allowing urgency to take us. I think that's kind of what, or
The
do we even
machine.
feel like the machine, right? We're like cogs in the machine. I'm trying too hard with these analogies.
Oh, they're good.
But, like, do we even realize that? right? When we're doing these things in order to even look for tools to help us to slow down, right? It's like
Yeah.
the chicken and the egg, right? Like what comes
Yeah.
first,
Which
what
comes
comes next.
first?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you talked about this word that I definitely think, the idea of being busy, and the idea of looking busy, and the idea of
Mhm.
seeming busy, and
Yes.
how like it's so ingrained in us. Oh, I'm seeing comments.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, Nora
Baby.
Ibtisam.
Yes. Okay. People are here with us. Okay.
Yay.
But yeah, and I think maybe comments are, I feel like comments are probably coming in delayed. So just for everyone, if we, if we're, late to the ball in answering your comments, just know it's delayed on our end, maybe.
Yes.
Technology. This is not urgent. So
Yeah, we're taking our time.
we're
We're
taking our
being
time with it,
mindful.
y'all. But yeah, so I was saying that with, what was I saying, Rebecca?
The busyness, looking busy,
Yeah,
seeming busy.
this idea of being busy. So this is something that for me, I had to, I had to like take a step back with, because when I built my, my business and creating this lifestyle for myself of being location independent, being nomadic, right?
Mhm.
I also try to build in time where I can just be, right?
Right.
And one of the things I realized, because so when I'm back home in Trinidad, my sister's working, my brother's working, my dad's off doing, he's retired, but he's doing things, right? And even my friends there, they're all, in their jobs. And people would say, I don't want to bother you because I know you're busy, you're
Mm.
running a business. And the instinct in me is to say, yeah, I am busy. I have lots of things to do, because you want to, it's like it makes you feel more important,
That badge, the
maybe.
badge of
I,
honor of
right.
busyness.
But then I'd be like, you know what, Abby, you don't have to, it's okay to say, it's not that I'm not busy per se. I have things I have to do. We always have things, but it doesn't mean I don't have time. Like there's
Right.
nothing urgent that I can't make a moment to have a conversation with you,
Yeah.
because I've built something so that I can do that,
Yeah.
right? So why am I not? Why am I still like, yeah, I'm busy? Sometimes I have to like check myself so
Yeah.
much of the time because of that. And I like what, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but if I'm not, please excuse me, said that urgency doesn't equal, I'm going to put this up, that urgency does not equal importance. Is important to ask what will move the needle most today. And I think that's just as right. The idea that it doesn't equal importance. And maybe what might move the needle most for me today would be having that conversation with that
Yeah.
friend, or with that person, or with that colleague, with that member of your team who seems to be struggling, or something
Yes.
like that, right?
Well, and I think you touched on a really important piece when you talked about having space for something that's urgent to come in. So, yes, we can be busy.
Mhm.
And I like to, I, I have to every few months really go back through and assess like, what am I obligated to right now? Have I over
Yeah.
obligated myself? Do I really have the capacity for
Mhm.
this? And then when I've
Yeah.
had somebody say, like, you're really busy, I will say, yes, I'm as busy as I choose to be, because it is an intentional decision to have these things on my plate.
Mm.
I'm not just
Yes.
letting in everything, right? I know what is on my plate because I chose it. And I
Yes.
have said no to the things that don't fit or don't have a place. That also allows this margin so that when the
Mhm.
truly urgent thing comes up today, that conversation with an employee
Yeah.
that's struggling, that task that came
Mhm.
in last second that we did not expect. In my business, we're a service business for industrial equipment. There might be a real issue in a plant today that needs to be
Yeah.
solved. So is there
Yeah.
room for us to deal with that issue that's at
Mhm.
hand, that's actually
Yeah.
happening? People are on the ground, somebody could really get hurt. That there needs
Mhm.
to be room for that. So are we building in
Yes.
margin, right? And that
Yeah.
takes discernment, which you and I have talked about
Yes.
before, that idea of
Yes.
discernment. How are we
Yes.
categorizing what's actually urgent? And things can be
Mhm.
important and not urgent, right? That
Yes.
can be true too, where we
Absolutely.
say, yes, we have this very important thing, but does it move the needle today? To go back to what Nora said.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think really taking
Absolutely.
stock of what we have on our plate has it been intentional how we've built that? As a business
Yeah.
owner, you are very busy because you are the sole person doing all of this stuff.
The be all and all.
Move the needle today.
Exactly. Like the amount of hats I wear, like I need, like, oh my gosh. But no, you're right. And I love that you said, like, it was my choice what I have on my plate. I chose my busy, right?
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing you.
No, I chose my busy.
I chose my busy for the day, right? And that allows you that space. Hi, Joanna. That allows you that space to decide, to make that decision in the moment, right? Yeah. When things do come up that are actually urgent. And I think that brings me kind of like the thought that ran through my head as I said that was, how do we really know what's urgent and what's not? Like, especially as leaders, how do we prioritize that? And you brought up, that word that we love, discernment, right? And I think that plays a big part in that. And I also think this was one of the things I was thinking about when I was thinking about this conversation too. I also think discernment is one of the most overlooked skills that a manager, a leader should have.
Yeah, agreed. Yes. And that's such a good question. How do you know? How do we decide, right? How do we choose our busy? That's the question. And that is that discernment piece. And I know, like, finding our core values has become such a buzz phrase or whatever, but it is so important. I'm in LA right now, and last night we went down to Beverly Hills just to kind of walk around, and there is an ATM for cupcakes in Beverly Hills, in case anyone ever ends up in Beverly Hills. An ATM machine for cupcakes. Okay, it's called Sprinkles. I'm parting this little side note here. Oh my gosh, so good. Anyway, yes, Sprinkles cupcakes. But I was looking around at these very high-end stores, right? And just thinking about like the amount of money that we spend on things. So I'm going to go off on a little tangent, but I think it's related. Yeah. There's urgency in consumerism too, right? I mean, even if you look at TikTok, right? We're scrolling and there's like, get it now. It's on sale now. It's this urgency. Like, it's important. And I thought, how do we decide even how to spend our money? It is discernment. It's understanding. And when there are very nice things that I would like to have related to things that it matters to me to have maybe a couch that is good quality, that's going to last a long time. So I might spend more money on that. Right. And so I think maybe that's the same idea in business. It's like, what is the longevity of this thing I'm giving our time and energy to? Right. And just because in my case, this might happen a lot. We have separate business units that do have to work together. And so we might get a request from another business unit, and it might come from the top. It might come from up on high, but it's still, and this is just bringing in this concept of like managing up to say, does it actually relate to our business goals in a way that long-term is going to get us the best results? And that is my job to ask that question. Yeah. And to maybe push back and say, at this moment, that's actually not the most urgent thing. It is important. And yes, we're going to talk about it. And yes, I'm going to put resources towards that, but you're not going to have the answer tomorrow because it is not the most urgent thing. And I think sometimes what gets in the way of being able to not take on those things as though they are just so urgent is also this inability to speak that, right? To be able to say, not today. I can do that tomorrow. And I do like to phrase things in, yes, I can absolutely do that in a week. Saying yes with the boundary of, but it's not happening today. Here's when I can do it. Setting expectations. And
okay, first off, sprinkles. Yes. Sorry, sprinkles had to get a nod. Yes. Yeah. We need one of those everywhere. back on track. Yeah. The idea, I think this is where we're coming to the nitty-gritty of it. Because what you said just there about being able to say yes, but with magic word, well, maybe not magic. I'm reading a book about magic, so magic is in my brain. So if just love it, bear with me on the magic, people. But that word, boundaries, and setting those boundaries, and I feel like especially as women, people who menstruate, right? I'll use I statements myself, definitely in there, right? It sometimes is challenging and not just women, I would say anyone who holds an identity that has been marginalized in some way, shape, or form over
Yes.
hundreds of years, whatever we've been around, right?
Yeah.
Holding boundaries and saying yes, but in a, or even just saying no.
Yeah. No is a complete sentence.
No is a complete sentence. It is. It is not the easiest thing to do.
Right.
Let's be real about it. Like, the people pleaser in me, and I'll own it. It's part of what I'm working on, right?
Right.
Holding that line and
Same.
holding those boundaries. Because even if we have that discernment that we're like, okay, I know I'm not going to be able. So, for example, on my end, I know I'm not going to be able to get that proposal out to them in a day, like a turnaround.
Yeah.
But okay, if I don't, what if they, go with someone else? What if they think like, oh my God, but my client needs me as well? Which do we, okay, maybe I just don't sleep. Maybe I just don't go to this event.
Right.
My niece's, whatever, graduation, or, you know what I mean? Like, because again, we're not just our work, we're, multifaceted, multi everything people, right? We're whole people with a whole other things going on. So it's like, how can I say, me knowing discernment wise, okay, these other things do take a little more priority, even though this is, how can you say yes, but in 2 days? Yes, but in a week, right? It's
Yeah.
not the easiest thing to come out of our mouths, like naturally sometimes. I'll use I statements again. My mouth naturally sometimes, because I don't want to put it on to other people.
Well, and I think it's definitely a practice. One thing my youngest says to me, I don't feel like doing that. And I'm like, well, the thing is, you're usually not going to feel like doing some of these things that are hard until you start doing it. And then you realize that it's like, I did that. Okay. So the first time I say no or yes, and here's what that looks like. I can have that done for you in a week, or my team is working on something else right now. And so that's going to have to, that seems like it's probably the next thing we can work on. Being able to say that, but also noticing like what is happening. Cause I know the first couple of times I did this, I sent an email this weekend that was a little bit like, I could feel in my body, like, oh my God, was that okay? Was that okay that I just advocated for myself? And then having to like talk myself through the after effects of saying no or yes or whatever, and acknowledging that this actually does affect us. Like you said, we're these multifaceted human beings. Our bodies are also responding in this. And so I think that's a lot of the piece too. We feel uncomfortable, like actually physically feel uncomfortable. And so we will say yes to something we shouldn't, or we will give in to this demand for urgency where we know better actually. Right. So I think there's a lot of value in knowing what feels most true to us, knowing what we value, knowing what our business is trying to do. Right.
Yeah.
Knowing the goals of our business, our team, our company, because then we can say that doesn't really fit what we've all agreed we're trying to accomplish. So is that really important? Is that really urgent if it doesn't fit here? And then if the answer is yes, okay, well then we got to fit that in there. But it's okay to ask those questions. It's okay to say, I don't see how this is urgent. Can you explain that to me? Can you explain to me why this should happen right now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think one of the things that I think is important with everything that you're saying is that as a leader, we model that for our team, because then I think it makes it, they don't need permission, but it gives that sense of, okay, if this person who is leading me is working in this way where they're like, no, they're saying no, they're saying yes, but boundary added in there, it's okay for us to say the same thing.
Yes.
Right. And especially when it comes to like rolling down, like giving, projects to do or something like that. Right. Sometimes, even as a leader, we don't realize sometimes our own team is overwhelmed by something else. And for them to be able to stand up and say as well, hey, actually, yes, but boundary input in here.
Exactly. Yeah. Can I take what I give out?
Exactly. Here's the thing. I think, it has to go both ways, right? And I think sometimes I'm not I think I'll own this because we're being bold on here. I know for a lot of people it is very, very difficult to take what they give out, to
Yeah.
hear that back, to hear somebody giving you a boundary, right? But
Oh
if we're
yeah.
gonna give boundaries, we're gonna get boundaries too, right? So that
Yes.
means here's where even more of that, like, again,
Yep.
that discernment skill, like, I can't just be like, how dare you tell
Yeah.
me no, yes, but not till next week. I am your boss. You can't do
Yeah, you got to celebrate it and say, "Oh, you're following my example.
that.
This is amazing. I don't
Exactly.
love it, but
Exactly.
also
Okay.
okay."
Hey, you.
Yes, yes,
Right?
exactly.
It's not an easy thing to do, right?
No, no, and I do tell
Mm,
my team there's, Brene Brown is very big about vulnerability and things like that. But one of the
yeah.
phrases that I really love, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, like if I know I can't
Yeah.
get something done, what do I do? And I think a lot of, in my experience, I've had a lot of people be silent. They don't
Mm,
communicate that. So now I'm
yeah.
wondering, and I've told my team, don't make me worry, wait, or wonder. Just communicate. And Brene Brown says, clear is kind, right? Clear is kind. Even
Mm,
if it's not the
yeah.
truth you want to hear, it's still more kind
Yeah.
than silence or
Mm-hmm.
placating or like, sure,
Mm-hmm.
I'll get that done. And then it doesn't happen. That's not
Yeah.
kind, right? So I
Yeah.
think clear is kind, and then boundaries early and often. And so I started my job just about a year ago, and that was how
Okay.
I went into it. I went into
Mm,
it with boundaries early and often. I am going to say yes when the answer is yes, and no or yes next week as often as I can, so that there's
yeah.
no question that this woman right here sets boundaries
Mm-hmm.
and owns
Mm-hmm.
her busyness. Her
Yes.
busyness is intent, her plate, and sometimes my busyness is zero on purpose. And I will say, nope, today is a day I'm literally melting into a puddle on my couch because I also deserve those days. But that is an
Absolutely.
obligation to myself.
Yes.
That becomes the
100%.
most important thing that day. And the most
Yeah.
urgent thing is to care for myself. And I think that this goes to, if Dasam wrote a comment in here,
Yes.
um, that urgent is often used loosely. And do we really understand what urgency means in the context of the work that we're doing? And I think
Mm,
even as I just said that, like that becomes the most urgent thing, that self-care. We
yeah.
don't ever apply that to that idea until it becomes a
100% no.
crisis, right?
Yes.
What we do when it's a crisis, but are we doing it before it's a crisis? When we say
Yeah.
it's like today, the most urgent thing is caring for my mental health, my state of mind, my maybe these little tasks that have added up over time that have gotten
Mm-hmm.
they can become urgent today, so I can get them off my plate, and everybody
Yeah.
else can wait.
Yeah.
And being able to say that. Yeah, and Clarissa said a couple of things here
Oh,
too.
yes.
Boundaries, is self-love. People pleasers will often ignore those bits of mindfulness. And that's so true because we
It's
forget
true.
that our needs also are important. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree. Because, I mean, listen, when the hardest thing I think for me as a people pleaser to do is focus on myself, right? The hardest thing
Mhm.
for me to do as someone who serves others, because that's what I do in my work. I serve others, right? That's what I do in my life. I serve others, right? Now my mom passed away, so I'm the matriarch of my
Mm,
family, right? Things that I'm there for people. But when it comes to me, the hardest thing for me to do is to remember that I also taking care of me should also be urgent. Like I also deserve taking that I took Friday to Monday off and I went,
yes.
flitting around the countryside of Colombia to see the the
Yes.
houses from
Drink
Encanto,
coffee and
we climbed steep hills that my knee did not enjoy, but we did it anyway with my cane in hand. But you know what? You know what I mean? And that's okay to do that
yeah.
too. That was honestly was urgently needed. That bit of a break and a reset before I came back to have conversations like these,
Mhm.
it was needed. And I love that you put it that way because I didn't see it as being urgent for me to take care of me. But now that I think about it, it kind of was urgent for me to take care of me during that time. Even
Yeah, it's
though,
such a different reframe. I'm really glad
yeah,
we got here in this conversation
I
because I
know.
really don't think about it. I had never really thought about it that way either. But
No,
yeah, like that is okay to say, you know what? I'm the most
okay.
urgent thing today.
Yeah. Like what, because that's the thing. What is important, right? What
Yeah.
if we think about, I think it was when Nora said, it doesn't, she doesn't equal importance, but it's important to ask what will move the needle most today. Right, I'll put that back up because I really like that, right? Oh, the
It's a
urgent
great
thing was
filter.
that I needed to go to Salento
Yep.
and watch the house and show my and look at things through the eyes of a child. That's what I needed to
Yes.
do over the weekend. Because showing
Yep.
my niece, I was telling you about that, right? Showing my niece the houses that look like the movie from Encanto, and she's like, "Oh my God, Auntie Abby, you're in Encanto. Can we go inside?" Right? Just being able to
Yes.
do that, that filled me with such joy. Also, my body, right? Because we
Hmm.
were talking about that earlier. I can't remember if it was here. We talked so much. I can't remember which part.
I
We talked about,
know.
I think it was in this, where we're talking about how our body feels, when we're feeling like everything's urgent, when we're feeling like we have to hustle, we have to do, we have to go. Our body feels that. And being able to like put that self-love, right? And do that for ourselves. It's just as urgent, just as important, and fuels our body with a different type of feeling rather than the tenseness that comes with other types of urgency, right? And
Yeah.
I love what Clarissa just said. What if we reframe our thinking to say our maintenance is a prerequisite to serve others? What? It's
So
negligent to
good.
everyone to not prioritize yourself if you serve others. All this,
Yes.
Clarissa.
So good.
Yes.
And it's so true because
Oh,
what can you give? And actually, if you are giving to others without taking care of yourself, you're giving from a deficit already. And then it's just taking more.
exactly.
And I think that's been an epidemic, I would say, especially
Exactly.
as we talked about some of, women and some other marginalized groups where they have been in
Mhm.
these positions of support and care and all of
Yes.
that, where they just give and give and give. And there's
Mhm.
been no giving back. And it
100%.
does become survival at that point.
It does. It does. As you said that, I just think about, all the reels I see going around where people are like, you know what? The world is on fire. And what are Black people doing right now? We're learning new dances. Where them fans at? And I'm like, yes, where them
Yeah.
fans at? Right? And I put it this way. So I've told a few people about this, but I have been crocheting up a storm, right? And crochet for me has been my way of, so I don't know if you saw, Meghan Markle has this thing on Netflix, her show,
I haven't
and
seen it yet.
I haven't watched it either, but someone made a comment that she's drying citrus, right? And I'm like, let the woman dry her citrus. That's how she, just live that soft life. So I always make a joke and be like, you know what? Right now I'm in my drying citrus era where I
You know
am
what? We all need something like that
exactly.
because it does. It gets us like when
Exactly.
you're crocheting, you're in that, right? You are in the
Yes,
movement of your hands. You're like present in
exactly.
your body. You're mindful of what's happening
Exactly.
because you have to be. If you're not, you're going to have to
Right.
tear that out and start over, right? So,
Yes.
yeah. What are we doing? And that is urgent. I love how we've reframed
Yes.
the idea of urgency because I do
Exactly.
think it's been used to commandeer our time and take away from us.
Mhm.
I said this the other day to somebody that I work with, like, let's not let urgency be the enemy of good work because
Oh,
it is the
yeah.
enemy of good work if we're looking at it in the way of like this is urgent,
Yeah.
that's urgent, I need your time. But if we say no urgency, we're actually going to look at what is really
Mhm.
truly urgent
Yes.
and we reframe it like Clarissa said. Let's reframe this idea of our maintenance is a prerequisite. That's the
Yeah.
urgent thing. And
Yes.
everything else can be important. And we can
Exactly.
prioritize it as such and have boundaries. Urgency becomes a very different thing to navigate.
Very different thing to navigate. And I love what Lenine said about self-care as well. It is community and collective care, because that's
Yes.
exactly what I'm talking about. But where them fans at? That's collective care right there.
Yes.
I'm still learning the dance. But and then Nora said you can't pour from an empty cup. Absolutely agree. It's so true. Like you can't. It's like what they say when you get on an airplane, put your mask on
Yes, your
first,
mask on first.
right? You can't do that, And I love these, versions of drying citrus over here. Mine's crocheting versus working on her first garden. Love that. And Joanna said she's doodling, right?
Love it. I know, I'm sitting
Joanna,
here thinking, what is my drying citrus right
what is
now? I'm in the
yours?
middle, I'm in the middle of a move right now. And
Mhm.
the first 6 months of this year are a little bit crazy. So I'm like, what? And I've
Yeah.
been purging my house. Yeah, working. So I'm part of this nonprofit. That's a little bit of
Yeah.
my drying citrus
Yeah.
because it's a thing that I choose to do, that I'm part of.
Yes.
I get to use the parts of my skill set that are strong, that I,
Yeah.
really can lean into. But I think I
Yes.
need to, like, I do some coloring sometimes. I have some coloring
Mhm.
books that I do, but yeah, I need to figure out what that is. For diamond dots, really a lot when I can have some real free time. That's what I'll get back into. I don't know if anybody knows what the diamond dot pictures are. I really like those. The problem with
Oh.
those though is you end up with a bunch of pictures that I don't even know what you would do with them. So crocheting seems like a better idea, because at least you like scarf or something that you could give to somebody, or I don't know. I'll have to think
Yeah.
about this. This is good.
I love that. I love that. No, well, for me, the crochet. So I love stuffed toys, and my ADHD brain, like I need to finish something. So I've been making a lot of. They're called amigurumis in Japanese, and they're like stuffed animals, right? So I'm
Oh,
making a
cute.
lot of those. My niece especially loves that because now she has a bunch more stuffed toys at
Yes.
Auntie's house when I'm in Trinidad. So when it was hilarious because now I'm in Colombia. She said I asked her, we were on a call, and this is just a side note, y'all, but it's a line. This is how it goes. I asked her, I asked her, I was like, which one of them did you like? How many of them did you sleep with, right? When you came to my house, and she said, "Oh, just one." I'm like, "One?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "I put them all in my blankie, wrapped it up, and it just became one."
Oh, I love that. There's no rules. There are
There's
no
no
rules.
no, but I think I love that we got to this point. I did not. It's so funny. Like I love how the conversation just took us to this place
Yeah.
where I didn't think it was going to go today. But I think it needed to go because I think also not just as a reminder to everyone who's listening, but also a reminder to myself as well, because I've been, like I said in the beginning, right? I've been feeling that pressure, that urgency, that
Yeah.
I need to kind of go back to how urgently take care of me as well, and go back to the things that help me do that. Because when I was in Salento, I picked back up my crochet and I
Mm.
finished a loaf cap that I gave to my friend. I don't have it with me right now because I gave them to my friend who's here in Colombia with me. And I finished a little whale that I gave to her
Gosh.
as well. And it just made me feel so, yeah, Joanna, it did need to go there. Yeah, because Joanna and I were actually having a conversation about, this kind of, taking care of ourselves yesterday too.
Yeah. Well, and
So
what you're
yeah,
describing is like a very grounding activity, right? And I
yeah.
don't know that, I mean, man, I wish I could say that I am very consistent every day in grounding
Hmm.
myself and making sure that I'm like noticing where my shoulders are. We talked about
Yeah.
that at the beginning, and like feeling
Yeah.
our bodies. And I think
Hmm.
these kinds of activities that we're talking about, they are urgent for us, but not in a way that's like urgent, in a way that's
Right.
like, urgent. I need to have those
Yeah.
moments of
Hmm.
groundedness where I'm being mindful. Maybe I'm going outside and
Yeah.
touching grass. Maybe I'm
Yes.
just going outside and getting some vitamin D, because so often we're not doing enough of that. I'm noticing my body. I'm taking some deep breaths. I'm figuring out these
Hmm.
ways to get grounded. And while I
Yeah.
may not have this activity in the moment where I'm doing this citrus
Mhm.
drying thing, I am still
Yeah.
finding these mindful moments because they are so like, if
Yeah.
and it is that awareness. We have to grow in the awareness of, what
Mhm.
does my body feel like right now? I'm feeling really tense. Okay, what will
Yeah.
release that? And then we start to practice it and it becomes
Yes.
intentional. Because I don't
Oh,
think,
100%.
I know there's more talks about nervous system and everything, but when we
Oh,
really
yeah.
think about how much like an email can send us into that fight or flight,
Ooh.
it can all of a sudden now I'm like, I have to get this thing done because
Yes.
I'm thinking that I'm being chased by a lion in my lizard brain,
Mhm.
right? My very primitive
Mhm.
brain. I must
Yes.
survive this. But if I
Yes.
can calm down, because in that moment, my
Mhm.
prefrontal cortex is not working, I cannot
Yep.
think at all. But if I can take a second and think, is this really that
Mhm.
important? No, now I can move into that more evolved part of my brain and ask actual questions.
Mhm.
Be curious. Is this really urgent? Is this important? Have I cared for myself yet today? For me, this is a thing I actually thought of. I have this wavy hair, and oftentimes this is just what it looks like, but I love spending the time to straighten my hair, but it takes me a long time. So it is a very mindful activity for me because it's going to take me 30 minutes.
Right.
But I often don't do it because it's going to take me 30 minutes and I have all these other things that are so important. So when I can really think, but that would make me feel so good if I did that. Okay, now I'm reframing my day. Now I am in a place where I've cared for myself. So obviously today I didn't do that thing, but tomorrow I'm going to do that thing because we're having this conversation and it's just reframed it so nicely.
I know. Same for me. Same for me. I'm just like thinking, I'm like, yeah, even me with my hair, like it takes forever to twist. Like it could take me hours to do these twists in my whole head. But I do it and I watch TV and I just take those hours just for me. I'm off my phone. I'm not like connected, in that way. So I'm just taking time for me. And
Yeah.
sometimes we need that. And I like what Joanna just said. Her next challenge from her coach, ask myself, what do I need in this moment day? And then she challenged us all do the same. Now I do it before my meditation, journaling, until it is the thing I automatically do. And I think, kind of rounding out a lot of the things we were coming at, we were talking about this idea of being intentional, right? The discernment, but also the awareness that we need, right? To all of these things have to come together in order to help us to do this. I feel like we needed to go through all of that in order for us to get to this reframe of what urgency is and what urgency culture maybe should look like. Maybe that should be the urgency culture.
Yeah.
Urgent to take care of ourselves, y'all.
Yes.
And that will also filter in the way we show up to our friends, our family, our colleagues, as leaders, as a team member, all of the above. You know what I mean? I think it's needed.
Yes. Well, and I think, as you were saying that too, when we do take this time for ourselves, I've always had my best ideas when I walk away from the urgent thing I'm working on.
Absolutely.
Right? Like I've never had a good idea when I'm like trying to figure out the idea. Like I have to figure this out. It is so hard for my brain to make the connections it needs to make when I'm under that kind of stress. But when I walk away, I take a walk, I go straighten my hair, I go do something else. Now, I mean, oftentimes I've heard many people say this. They have their best ideas in the shower or when they're driving. Why is that? Because they're not involved in some really urgent thing that somebody's asking them to do and they feel a deadline and all that stuff. Those ideas can then come in. And so when we're really looking to be creative or solve a complex problem, like our brains are always working in the background. Joanna said that our brains are subconsciously looking for the answer to this question that she's asked, but also to every other problem. Our brains are constantly like, what is the next problem? What is, what's the solution? And so when we can free ourselves up, we can find those really good answers. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And that's what I've found in crochet. Because honestly, when I'm feeling my most anxious, that's when I take it out and I start crocheting, and it helps calm my nervous system, but it also lets me work through what I need to work through. Because what I'm doing, I'm counting stitches, right?
Yep.
But everything else, whatever is happening in the back of my brain. And I think it's so important that we do that for ourselves. I'm with Joanna. I want to challenge us all to kind of, what's our version of how
I'm sorry. Hold on one second. I don't know what
Yeah.
happened here. Okay, there we
Can
go.
you hear?
I can
Are
hear
you
you
good?
now. Sorry.
All right. No, no
Something
apologies
happened in
needed.
my AirPod, but it's fine now.
We're good. We're good. No, I was just saying I want to challenge us all to think about urgency in terms like reframing urgency for ourselves in terms of urgency for that, for our own self-care, right? That's what's, and I feel like we all need that right now too, with
Yes.
everything
Yes.
that's going on. And so yeah, let's start thinking about it in that way. Okay.
When I like the
So
question, just to go back
yeah,
to Joanna's
yeah,
question, I
yeah,
think that is the question. What do I need in this moment and in this day?
yeah,
And let that be the
exactly.
urgent thing of the
Let
day.
that be the engine. Yeah, exactly. And it's okay to say, what do I need?
Mhm.
I'm saying that not just for y'all, but for me too. It's okay to say, what do I need right now?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
I'm going to say it again because
Ugh.
I need to remind myself it's okay to say what I need.
Yes.
Okay. I gotta say that with like, okay, I'm kind of segueing too, but I gotta say that part with my whole chest because I don't. I don't. I sometimes I
Yeah.
don't. Oh my goodness. My goodness. Okay. So I do wanna try to give like not really switch gears, but kind of move in to this kind of portion at the end here. This conversation has been so good. I know it's gone in a place where we didn't expect it to, but I think it's a good time to kind of go to say it with your whole chest. And for those who are new here, this is only the second one, so most of you are probably new. This is where I ask my guests to share something bold, something that they haven't said out loud or been wanting to say out loud, or maybe they have said it out loud to certain people but haven't said it out loud to others, but just something that needs to be said out loud that even if it's not always easy. So, Rebecca, the floor is yours. What do you have to say with your whole chest? I think frozen on my end, or Rebecca, are you there? If people can hear me.
I can
Okay,
now. Oh my gosh, the internet dropped out.
that's okay. You're back.
I'm
You're
out
good. You're
just in
good. You're good.
time.
You're good. Okay. I was telling people I would pass it to you to do say it with your whole chest, and I explained what it was to them. So I was like, the floor is yours.
And then I was nowhere to be found. Okay. So for me, and I think this just goes really well with the whole self-care idea, is it is okay for me not to sacrifice myself for the
Mm.
perceived vitality of the organization I work for.
Listen, let's take a moment with that. Because, I mean, how many of us in our time working in organizations have we put like blood, sweat, and tears into all that we're doing in order to make things, I'll raise my hand for organizations I've worked for
Oh my gosh, so many times.
so many times.
Yeah. And
And
there are times that I will, but I choose
Mhm.
those. Like we
Yeah,
talked about earlier, I
exactly.
choose those
Choice.
because they align with the mission of the organization, the goals that we're trying to
Hmm.
do, the things I have agreed to. I have made agreements,
Hmm.
but I will not for the things that are thrust upon me and there's just an expectation. It
Yeah,
is okay to say, no, not today.
it's okay to say no, not today. And again, it goes back. It aligns so wonderfully with the idea of what do I need in this moment for
Yes.
myself? Not for it didn't never said what do I need in this moment for the organization.
Right.
What do I need to do for them? It's what do I need to do for myself? If it aligns with and okay, just caveat because sometimes people can take these things and they can just run with it. We're not saying don't do your work, okay?
Right. Yes. Yes. No. No.
Just saying. That's not what we're saying. But we're saying that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rebecca, please, is that we don't, how do I put this? We don't hurt our own selves in order to just, be one of those cogs in the wheel.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because not causing harm to others includes ourselves.
Yes, facts. Absolutely. And sometimes we forget that
Yeah.
and need to be reminded. So, yeah, say that with your heart. True. It's absolutely true. Oh my gosh. Okay. Y'all, This was so good. I want to keep going and going and going, but I also want to be mindful of time because we're almost to the hour mark. And ooh, wait,
Yeah, I love what Joanna said.
I know. I'm sorry. I was gonna wrap us, but then if you are quick to conclude not to do your work, this message is not
Yes, agreed.
absolutely true. Exactly. No, it's so true. You see, this is turning into a real. You see, I'll give you a little insight into Trinidadian, probably Caribbean on a whole culture, but I'll stick with Trinidadian. Um, ooh, protecting your time. See, my squirrel brain. Protecting your time and energy is not selfish. That's right, Nora. So true. Y'all with the gems in the. Oh,
I
I
know,
love this.
so good.
So good. I love these. But it's true. One of the things, so the little insight I was going to give is that usually in Trinidadian culture, when we're going to say goodbye to people, it usually takes us at least 6 or 7 times before we actually like leave. You're like, bye, okay, see you later. And then another conversation starts.
Yep.
And then we're like, bye. And we're walking towards the door and sometimes the conversations are still continuing when you're in your car. So that's what that felt like. I was like, oh yeah, this is a true line because that's exactly how they go.
Nice. Oh, I love that so much.
Oh, but no. Oh, Becca, thank you. Like seriously, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you so much
This
for
was
lining
so
with
fun.
me. But before we wrap and before everything happens, please tell the people, and I'm gonna try to put your stuff up on here, but tell the people how they can connect with you if they want to continue chatting with you.
Yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn. Rebecca L. Thomas is how I think my search is on the search bar. Yeah, right there. That's the link. Rebecca Thomas. And then I'm also on Instagram, Rebecca Lynn Writes, and I do have a Substack linked in there where I occasionally write things. But my number one goal is just to help women become more rooted, expansive, and brave as leaders wherever they find themselves. So, I put a lot on LinkedIn right now, but trying to grow a Substack. So hopefully at some point, but just having these conversations is my absolute favorite thing to do.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. It was so great having you here. I'm so happy. And for everyone who joined us, thank you so much for aligning with us and for being a part of this and just hold on. Things are happening. That's Rebecca's website right there. There you go.
Yes.
Coming up as
Thank you
well.
for that.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's Rebecca's website. Check it out. Check it out. But yeah, no. So I just want to say to all who jumped in and who added their comments and just being here, aligning with us, I truly, really and truly appreciate you all. And so if you are a manager, people leader, or just trying to show up with more care and discernment in the middle of all of this, right? This space is for you and I hope you listen to it. And that, like, if this conversation that we've had today hits close to home, if you're navigating like any tension on your team, feeling pulled in too many directions, not sure how to take that awareness and turn it into discernment or what your discernment should be, or just tired of just leading like everything's on fire, even though it might be, right? This is the kind of work that I do at Fern Education Studios. So I train managers to work with ease and I work with organizations as well to help them lead on the people side. So really looking at, leading with more discernment, less harm, and a whole lot more trust. So if that's something that
So
your
good.
team needs, feel free to reach out to me as well. Let's talk. And we will be back, people, for another conversation. Same time, same place. Rebecca, again, I cannot tell you how
Thank you.
much I appreciate you being here. It was such a wonderful conversation. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
And
for having me. I had
of
so much fun.
course,
Oh my gosh, all the comments, so much fun getting
yes.
to actually interact with people. This was really great. And you, of course,
Yay.
best conversations ever with you.
Always,
Yeah.
always. All right, my friends. So until next time, keep liming, listening, and learning. We'll see you soon.